Geopolitical analyst Dr. Bola Adediro joins me from the UK for this conversation. Good to have you, Dr. Adediro. So you and we've had conversation back and forth on developments in the Middle East, but it seems now that there would be a breakthrough in terms of ceasefire between Hamas and Israel. But what is the possibility of reaching a deal before President Biden leaves office?
I think that there are clear indications that at least the framework of a deal is possible before President Joe Biden leaves office on January 20th. Certainly, Biden officials want that. Trump officials want that, and there's a lot of pressure on Netanyahu to get that deal done. As at last night, I believe that there are indications that a final draft have been handed over to officials from Hamas, negotiating officials from Hamas, and also for Israeli officials who are participating in the ceasefire talks. I'm talking about the Shin Bet, head of Shin Bet, head of Mossad, and the head of IDF, and some other Biden officials and U.S. envoy to the Middle East representing Donald Trump. So there are indications that there is a breakthrough in the negotiations at the moment.
All right, so in the introduction we had to this story, we listed some of these developments in the Middle East, and I know you are very well aware of some of these developments. Israeli ceasefire with Hezbollah, of course you follow the fall of Assad regime, and then we've seen the weakening of Iran's axis of resistance also in the region. It is in the interest of Hamas to reach a deal now, isn't it? Especially also before Trump takes office. Yes,
Donald Trump has made it very clear to Hamas that all hell will be let loose if hostages are not released before January 20th. And so Hamas understands the pressure that it's under. But more importantly, I think Hamas also is tired of the war, frankly. More than 46,000 Palestinians have died, more than 100,000 have been injured. Gaza is a rubble at the moment. And so even just the sheer toll of the war itself is probably pushing Hamas to want a ceasefire deal. I like the fact that you mentioned about Hezbollah, the ceasefire deal that was agreed with Hezbollah. My concern here is that even if this ceasefire deal is agreed with Hamas, how can we be absolutely sure that the Israelis will not undermine it? We've seen what they've done in Lebanon, where they have violated the ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah several times. And so there are concerns with that from my own hand. But it's definitely good news for Palestinians and for the hostages who are bound to come home.
And you already sort of jumped, or touched rather on my next line, of question, because there are some members of Netanyahu's cabinet who do not want an outright ceasefire. They want the deal, they want the return of hostages, but they do not want an outright or immediate ceasefire. But Netanyahu is facing pressure from both the current and incoming U.S. administrations to reach a deal. Israeli negotiators are saying, look, they're expressing cautious optimism. And I'm wondering, in all of this, you've talked about Hezbollah as well, what could go wrong?
Well, I think that feelers coming from the Netanyahu's government seems that Netanyahu understands that this is a timely moment to be able to get this deal across. So the individuals that you're mentioning, I think the finance minister, Smotrich and Ben Giver or something, if that is the correct pronunciation of his name, they are the right-wing members of Netanyahu's cabinet, and they are pressing on Netanyahu not to accept this deal for all sorts of reasons. But Netanyahu is, according to figures coming out from the negotiations, is promising that if they are able to get this deal out and signed and delivered, then perhaps they can get on the right side of the incoming Trump administration, which they want to be on the right side of the Trump administration. And perhaps they may be able to also deliver some of the right-wing ideas of those members of the cabinet, which includes, for example, the annexation of West Bank. So it seems like it's a deal that if it goes ahead, it would be because they believe that down the road, they might be able to get something from the Trump administration, which expands the territory of Israel.
And do you sense any sort of delay tactics? Because again, it will be in the benefit of Israel if Trump when Trump takes office, to have their ceasefire agreement at that time. Do you think that there will be any sort of delay tactics just to ensure that Trump comes into office before this agreement is reached?
I think that the sticking point at the moment is first about the Philadelphia corridor. Hamas want the Israeli Defense Forces to not, continue to hold on to that strip of land. And the Israelis want to have presence within the Philadelphia corridor. I think the other sticking point is in terms of the language of the ceasefire deal. The Israelis want something that is flexible enough, that allows them to resume fighting whenever they please. And the negotiators from Hamas want a very comprehensive, very robust language that enforces a permanent ceasefire deal. And I think the last sticking point is in terms of where the outpost of the Israelis would be. Previously, it was just a couple of about 60 meters from Israel. Now, the Israelis want it as far as into North Gaza as possible, which would mean that a lot of Palestinians are not able to return into their homes. So there are still some sticking points. But I think that overall, it is the interest of the Palestinians represented by the Hamas to get the deal signed. It's in interest of Netanyahu's cabinet members to accept this deal, and it's in interest of everyone to see some form of calm and peace in that part of the world where thousands of people have experienced miserable times and miserable fortunes for the last 1 year, and also for the more than 100 hostages to come home. It's a long time.
And a number of people who have died on both sides, even hostages, about 34 of them have died in this war. Thank you so much for your time, as always, geopolitical analyst, Dr. Bola Adidoro.
Thank you for having me, Precious.